All right. Kia ora, welcome everyone. I'll get us going with the karakia and then introduce Jacinda to you. Karakia te matanga, manakitia teine hui, manakitia teine roku, manakitia teine whānau. Tai noa ki teine kaupapa. Arahina na kōrero, arahina na patai, arahina na ture nei kia puta ai te maramatanga. So bless this meeting, bless this group, bless this family as we come together for this gathering. Guide the discussion, guide the questions, guide the intent so that we move on to greater understanding. And it's a really, really apt karakia to get us going tonight. Welcome, Jacinda. Really, really excited to have you here and learn more from you. I should have had 2 prep sessions with you so I get a bit more from you. But I'm sure we'll stay connected in the future.
Yeah,
And we'll just go with the flow today. So I'm going to do a little introduction, just introduce you, read out some bits about you, and then hand over to you, and you can introduce yourself however you like. I have questions for you, but again, I'm more than happy for you to lead the way and take us however you feel, we should be proceeding. So all good to roll. So Jacinda Gilligan is the founder of the SOMA Centre of Somatics, human advocate, speaker, somatic coach, trauma educator, and trauma-informed yoga facilitator with over 30 years of experience facilitating in the therapeutic, educational, and community settings. Jacinda has trained extensively in somatic approaches in Aotearoa and internationally, specializing in body-based trauma processing, applied polyvagal theory, and embodied leadership. Her work focuses on helping people understand how experiences are held in the body and how somatic practices can support regulation, safety, and resilience. So Jacinda's worked with individuals, communities, organizations, and has also facilitated trauma-informed yoga and nervous system education programs in community and prison settings across Aotearoa. So welcome, Jacinda. We are really, really excited. A lot of the people in our NATINA community are people who want to become trauma-informed, neuroscience-informed, and really shift themselves, I guess, into, different ways of being. So somatic approaches is what I guess we do need to actually make those shifts, not just the information that we learn. And so we're hoping we learn some of that from you today. So kia ora and welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm just going to fiddle with my eye a little bit because I've got something in my eye. Kia ora, everyone. Nice to be here and see quite a few names popping up, and that you're giving your time this evening. Yeah, ko Jacinda tōku ingoa. I live in the embrace of the Whakaraupo Harbour, the Littleton Harbour. I would look at that rim of the volcano from my dining room window. I originally come from the Hutt Valley, and if you know the Hutt Valley, Stokes Valley in particular. And I always like to mihi to the Ngāhere and the Taratahi, Te Maunga, the Mount Holdsworth, and Awakarangi, the Hutt River. What I always love to mihi to those is that they were refuge in my teens in particular. And so it's always a wonderful way for me to introduce myself because I could still feel those places inside of me now, even though it was like 40 years ago. Yeah. My ancestors come from Ireland and England, as far as I know. And my maternal line, we don't know because my mother had a close adoption. All these pieces of my story are important about how I exist in the world. They all inform me and inform how I live in the world. Yeah, so I guess for me, because I do this work, I work with groups a lot. I'd really like to offer you an invitation to make sure that you're feeling comfortable this evening, the people that are here, and Frian. If there's any way that you can get yourself a little bit more comfortable so that we can fully be engaged with the conversation, the kōrero that happens tonight. I have worked in education spaces. I was, high school drama teacher for quite a few years. Then I had children, and I raised my children mainly outside of school, in the community, and in my community and at home. And then I also did a lot of community-based education, and I've been also a yoga teacher for many years. Yeah. And in the last 10 or so years, I've worked specifically around trauma-informed work. I think that's a good enough introduction for me.
Thank you. Jacinda, what started your journey into somatics? At what point did you become really interested in it, and what drew you into this work? Often, everyone I've met, and I feel like I'm really privileged over the years to be in this community, because I meet people and I learn so much from them and I gain so much from them. But what I find is there's always a story behind why they're there. There's always a personal reason, whether they're a professional, whether they're a parent. There's often that personal reason that, draws them into this space. What was it for you? What got you going into this space of, somatic healing?
Mm-hmm. I guess, if this work really allows us to really own all the different kinds of intelligences. And if we kind of unroll my life way back, I had a really tragic event that happened in my teens, where I was present at a drowning of a very close friend. And that experience meant that I felt really overwhelmed and really asked questions. This was like when I was 16, and so that really was the beginning of I'd already been asking questions, as you do as a young teenager, but I was very aware that I didn't know how to make sense of the world anymore, and so from then on, I began this journey of trying to figure out how to make sense of the world. And I can remember when I went to university, eventually I went to university, and I remember thinking, I really want to make sure that I include the body and the emotions as well as the intellect in my course of study. I had spent a lot of my teens, as I said, in the outdoors. It was a real refuge for me from a family with a single parent of 5 girls. So that was quite a chaotic household. So the outdoors was a real refuge for me. And so I was really aware that there was like stuff going on inside of me, and aware that I wanted to hold. I wanted to hold it all. I've always been really also interested in relationship. And prioritizing relationship over just, this understanding, this intellectual approach to the world. So that's, way back then I began kind of this journey. And, the word somatics is kind of like, firstly, it's flavor of the month. Secondly, it's basically, like being to feel embodied, to be able to feel embodied. So I felt that when I was in the outdoors. I felt that when I was on the stage or, engaged with drama. I felt that when I was a parent and felt the love and connection with children. So I basically kept on following that. I've had a long time, I had a long time yoga practice as well. So I had that kind of like this compass bearing of my body and this sense of intuition that I kept on following, I guess. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing that you started out quite early with it, because I think like when I reflect back, growing up, I think my world was shaped very much by all the expectations that came externally.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's amazing that you started trying to make sense of the world early on. Whereas for me, I thought this is how the world is and this is how it should be. And I had, in all honesty, a very very lovely, rosy picture of the world. And
Mm.
I've had to unlearn some of that, as life has gone on and as we've experienced, some of the more challenging moments of life, and especially as a parent of, disabled neurodivergent children, experiencing discrimination, things like that. And I think that's where um
That's,
my understanding of the world has sort of unraveled, and now I'm, making better sense of it in connection with who I am within myself, really, rather than the external expectations. Yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, what I hear is the fact that our difficulties are the things that push us to seek meaning,
Yes.
rather than, if life is good,
Yes.
we're just carrying on. We don't have to seek
Yeah.
meaning beyond that. And
True.
even as a child of a single mum in the 70s, that was a kind of a sense of otherness, that this kind of sense that, oh, I wasn't the same as my friends. And so all of
Yeah.
that, ever often people that
Mm.
live on the margins of the norm,
Yes.
really kind of this invitation to
Mm.
explore more, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. You mentioned, somatics is the flavor of the month. Where does that word originate from?
Mm.
What does somatics mean in simple terms?
Mm-mm.
What does it mean?
It's a Greek word for, and basically I explain it like it is um, the living organism in its wholeness. That
Okay.
we are the body we live in. We are the our life lives within us.
Yeah.
And what's happened is, I think it was about 400 years ago that Rene Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." And the Western philosophy, Western thinking back then decided that we had a whole lot of problems that we had to deal with. And of course, science was just kind of, beginning the whole Enlightenment period was kind of a little bit further down the track. But there was all these problems for humanity, and they decided to just, that this,
Mm.
we're going to kind of put aside the body, because the body
Yeah.
was messy and you
Yeah.
know, difficult and full of all sorts of things, right? And we were going to really focus on the mind. And what we're realizing now is we have a whole lot of new issues and problems humanity is facing. If you look around, and with the whole understanding of science and neuroscience, and that we're understanding that actually this is actually a whole system, and so basically, a lot of people get really kind of like hung up about the word somatics.
Yeah.
Um, it's a Western therapeutic term, but we are, if you have a connection, a sense of living inside this a body, that is what we call somatics. This ability to be able to feel embodied. And what happens when we have a traumatic event, or we're um, with a lot of stress, which is basically our society now, is how much pressure there is on our system all the time, that we start to feel slightly disembodied. We start to feel like, oh, my life is here, and I kind of do stuff to myself, but
Yeah.
I'm not a whole piece being as a one being. Yeah. So that's that's the term somatics, and what we're um, working towards is this relationship to myself, this mind body connection, in relation, getting in right relationship with myself and the world around me. Yeah.
That is really, really neatly put. Where did your learning come from?
Mm.
What influenced you? And again, the reason why I ask is often, when you're trying to learn nowadays, there's so much out there, and there's so much of
Mm,
social media, and there's so much of the little, snippets that you
yeah,
keep coming across.
right.
Where do you learn some of the stuff in
Mm,
a reliable sort of, way, in a safe way? What has influenced you? Where did
yeah,
your learning come from, and where can we be looking at,
yeah.
learn more about somatic approaches to support our own selves?
Mm. I'm sure everyone here is doing some of that already. Like we're all doing it all the time. Um, I find sometimes it's a little bit tricky with the whole social media thing, right? Because, we can now get, biohacks and little toolkits. And this is just from my personal perspective.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel like it's reductive. It's still a reductive way that we approach ourselves, this kind of
Mm,
nervous system tools that we're
yeah.
trying to do to ourselves, right? As if we're a project that needs to be fixed, rather than coming into relation, letting myself organize around my relationship, which takes time, a relationship with my mind and body, right? It takes time, rather than this idea that we're doing things to ourselves, that we have to do stuff to fix ourselves. Actually, our body is simply a reflection of the experiences that we have had and are having.
I like
Um,
that.
right? So it's not that I'm broken and something has to be fixed. It's more this understanding of like, oh, this is why my breath is shallow. This is why I constantly hold my breath.
Yeah.
And then just this slow shift that we have towards this, which is key really, which can take a long time. And I'm just going to, talking to the people that are here, just notice, even as I invite you to kind of consider that you're not a project to be fixed, and that the children that we work with are not projects to be fixed. It's actually like, how do we hold people in a different space
Mm.
so that their bodies can feel safe, right? They can feel safe, they can relax, and then we can actually we can meet people just right where they are, and we can meet ourselves right where we are, which means that we have a practice of showing kindness towards ourselves
Mm.
and self-compassion. And I know there'll be some people that are here, or some people that are listening to the recording, and their whole system goes, yuck, I don't like it, I can't do that. That's really, really common. And so what I would invite people to do is just like, maybe just take a breath,
Mm.
feel their feet on the floor, or feel their pelvis wherever you're sitting. And is it possible to kind of feel like, even in this moment, that you could just extend some care towards yourself? Because that's when we come into right relationship with our body, understanding that our body is simply busy trying to protect us, basically.
Yeah.
So my nervousness, my feeling of agitation in my body right now is just a reflection of the fact that I'm here sitting with you, with a whole bunch of people, with us, and we're being recorded. Um, it's an appropriate response, right? It's an appropriate response to this situation. Yeah. So that's a key piece, I guess, around somatics. You asked about training, learning. Um, I find this a really difficult question as well. I mean, I mainly went across the other side of the world to train. I did. I mean, as I said, I've had a practice for a long time of yoga, and because of my approach, because of my experience with education and alternative education, um, my approach has always been, my yoga teaching, a trauma-informed approach, that I do not get to tell people how they move their body. I am not in your body. You get to explore for yourself how it feels best to be in my body, right? When I can find a way to be able to feel at ease in my body, then my body starts to feel safe. Yeah. So there's that. So these little practices, and everyone here will have practices in which that these things, pottering around in my house, I don't know what you might do, are practices that we do to settle ourselves, right? It doesn't have to look like a yoga practice. But that has been a foundational piece for me. And then I trained with the Strozzi Institute in the Northern California, because I really like their approach, which is not only therapeutic, which is more the somatic experiencing approach of Peter Levine's work. It is more kind of how to be in the world, right? How to be in the world for people in education, for leaders, for organisations. So I did a lot of training there. I have worked a lot with Ariel Schwartz, who is a key person that does trauma-informed yoga and trauma-informed and polyvagal. I did some work with Polyvagal Institute, but I went away to get a lot of my training. Yeah. Because I felt the same as you, basically. I felt that it was difficult for me to find something that really was a yes inside of me. That is not saying that there's not great training here or great training online. I try to really listen to, rather than that feeling of like, I've got to find something that's going to be the right one. Again, that feeling like I got to, that kind of constant panic towards more training.
Yes.
Really like, I'm ready for this, and this feels like a yes to me. This is an embodied yes. I just had a really strong embodied yes. Yeah.
I'm as sort of, I'm going along on my journey. I'm finding that I really have to stop the filling my head and getting more stuff. And it almost like I'll sign up for something and I'm like, no, stay away, stop it, like stay away. You've got to just keep practicing what you know. It's that connection, I think, time to connect with ourselves, isn't it? And I think
Yeah.
that's something I've always struggled with. I've got over the guilt of resting or, not doing a lot. So, mentally, I feel like I've got over it, but my body still doesn't slow down. And it's like my mind is telling my body, slow down, but the body won't slow down. And it's hard. And I think it's those little practices
That's the one.
that I have to keep working on, and I feel like that's what I need to do a bit more of,
I'm
rather
sure
than keep
you're
filling my head more.
yeah. Well, I'm sure you're doing that just fine. We have the sense that we have to do more, that we have to do more training, all this kind of push towards more, when
Yeah,
actually you've got plenty inside here, and you've got children at home, right? You've got children at home.
three boys.
My children have left home. That's, so then a whole lot of space shows up, right? And I will always say my greatest teachers in somatics were my children.
Absolutely.
Totally figuring out, because I had the love connection
Yeah.
and I needed to figure out how I could feel I wanted to be present for my daughters, and how we talk about in this line of work, settled bodies, settle body,
Yeah.
settled bodies,
Yeah.
settle bodies. So how do I settle myself?
Yeah.
How do I take care of my own? Like, I needed to make a lot of space for myself. I knew I just needed that because of how my nervous system was set up,
Yeah.
of that feeling of that a lot of bracing and that quick to feel stressed or to kind of brace. I needed to clear out quite a bit of space so I could parent in the way that I wanted to parent. I had to actually meet myself first, right? And that's not just a kind of a cheesy thing to say. I totally believe parenting was the greatest teacher, because you're showing up to that practice every day, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I think naturally because we are so invested in our kids, we make the effort
Mm-hmm.
when it is something to do with them. Whereas if it was just us by ourselves, we don't always do it.
Yeah.
But I think for me, that's been the learning that I actually do need to do it for myself, not just for the kids. I do need to support myself.
Yeah.
And again, you talked about sort of that embodied leadership, and that's the other space that I've found where over the years as an advocate, I think my advocacy was fueled by me being in a constant fight, flight
That's
sort of space and state of being. Um, and and I had to really pull myself back because I've got kids who are moving out of school, they're starting their life, I guess, in the community and at home and things like that, and I really wanted to be there for them, and I realized I can't if I'm constantly working from that space of fight flight, and so I
mm.
really need to take time to, I guess, reset myself.
And that embodied leadership, like we're all, it's not like some kind of like only for leaders, capital L.
Yeah.
It's actually embodied leadership over my own life. And if we think about also about like schools, for instance, about, you know, those spaces and the culture. I mean, I can remember it in here. I remember turning up to that first day of school, and it felt like the bang of all the things that had to be happening
Yeah.
and everyone's energy.
Yeah.
So
Expectations and demands, isn't it?
that's right. That's right.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So there's this real how do we show up feeling, and then we have practices, right, to feel centered, to feel like I don't have to fight to exist. Actually, what the students need of me is to be present.
yeah.
Is yeah. So yeah, that's I've lost the thread of what we would how we started that thread, but
No,
yeah.
it was all about the embodied leadership and what that means,
Mm,
in terms of leading ourselves and
yeah,
taking that,
yeah,
that ownership for ourselves. Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of it is this ability to know how I am. So to be able to know how I am, and then be able to meet myself and then meet you in relationship. So that co-regulation piece. Um, yeah. So, and that just takes practice, right? And that ability, and it takes time to feel often with the support of others. For most people, actually, that I work with, certainly, there's not even any ability to kind of land in here because it's all here
Yeah.
and trying to understand everything. And I work with a lot of people that know all the stuff. They know all the
Yeah.
stuff. They've read all the books,
Yeah.
and yet there's still this inability to be able to land down in here. Yeah.
Um, Jacinda, so I've been learning a lot.
Mm.
For ages, I didn't see any shifts, and I can see some of the shifts. I can stay more regulated amongst chaos. I can connect within myself. I can shift a bit faster than I used to be able to, if I
Yeah.
am triggered, things like that. But I haven't been able to nail down what has created that shift.
Mm.
Um, what is it that helps us to make that shift? How, and it's going to be different for different people. Um, Taking some time for yourself. I guess you talked about being comfortable in your body and doing things that sort of make you feel comfortable. Um, I know I've stopped doing things like multitasking, or at least reduced the multitasking. If I'm at a traffic light, instead of going, "Hey Siri, call so and so," I'm like, "Let's look at the blue sky."
To call Sophie Ola home.
Sammy's actually picked up.
Okay.
So I need to turn that off. So yeah, so I had the habit of doing that at the traffic lights, I would call up people, talk to people, things like that. Um, I've stopped doing that. I've done a few things, but what are some of the concrete things that we could start doing if we wanted to start shifting ourselves? Getting more connected with ourselves. What are some of those practical things that we could be doing on a daily basis?
Well, that sounds like definitely concrete things that you are doing, right? But it's this wonderful thing, which is that it takes 1% noticing that, oh, I've got a traffic light, I'm going to do that next task. And instead, oh, I'm catching myself
Yeah.
and I might just, invite myself to take a pause. That is a concrete micro corrective behavior. That's what it's called, a micro
Oh,
corrective behavior. That's what grows those new neural pathways in the mind, in the brain, right? That means that then my body starts to organize itself around being present, which is being safe, feeling safe, right? You were saying also making a little bit more space so that
mm,
timing, pacing is like the foundational piece, right? This
yeah,
ability to be able to notice when I'm starting to feel really ramped up inside of myself,
yeah,
and even just feeling my feet on the ground,
yeah,
feeling right now, you might even want to do
mm,
this, just even notice your seat, your
yeah,
pelvis on the chair,
yeah,
and take a breath out. Now, no one knows that I am doing
yeah,
it, right?
yeah,
In a social situation, no one knows I'm doing it. I am doing it, right? I'm taking a look around the room so that my body can orient around the room, right? I can feel that my body, rather than feeling like a silver bullet flying through the universe at 100
yeah,
miles per hour, I am actually anchored in a space and time,
yeah,
right? These small practices that we can do. So, firstly, to just notice what people are already doing,
mm,
right? We constantly are telling ourselves that we're not doing enough. Actually, it is not a
yeah,
big course that you learn and boom, it's all over. This is a lifetime, it's just a
yeah,
lifelong journey. This is life. And a lot of people, say, oh, of course, they want to fix themselves. They want to feel
mm,
like, oh, there's something to fix, right? They want to stop. Basically, I always say for myself, I spend a lot of time avoiding suffering. I avoid that horrible feeling inside of myself, right? Um, but if we can slow down and be able to companion with our body, because knowing that that part of my body that's feeling uncomfortable is actually really trying to protect me from something,
mm,
often uncomfortable feelings. Yeah. So that, like, slowing down, noticing. So even as a practice, I mean, we can do a small practice like as you wake up in the morning. You
okay,
just for some people, it's placing their hand on their chest. Other people, they don't like putting their hand on their chest. So really listening to what really feels good for you. Some people really like putting their feet on the ground and feel grounded. Other people hate or can't feel their feet or feel suffocated by feeling that. So it's really you listening and feeling like, oh, that actually helps me feel settled. So this is a practice, like a simple practice, waking up in the morning and just noticing your breath, noticing that movement. If there's a trigger about the word breath, can I just feel the movement inside of my body? Maybe we can do that right now.
yeah,
And maybe you can't feel any movement, and that's okay. You're still here, right? There's often a feeling of nothingness or numbness. So, what is this curiosity? Slowing down, and is it possible? So, the curiosity only comes with a bit of kindness, right? When I feel safe enough to feel curious. And my breath when I wake up in the morning will just tell me about how I am right now. It's just an experience. It's just a reflection
yeah,
of how I've slept, My breath right now is a reflection of me being on Zoom, right? It will be different in an hour, you know. So just this learning, this building a relationship with ourselves.
Mm,
Is it possible to get curious
mm,
rather than constantly either fighting, punishing, shaming, fixing, all these things that are actually part of the trauma body? Yeah, because we're in this incredible, like, actually, you know, when you pull out, we're alive and this incredible mystery that most of us don't actually know much about. You know, like, we're really trying to figure it. And you know, that's part of the trauma body as well, is that I have learned that it's too unsafe to be here, so I'm going to just focus my whole attention on understanding things. Yeah.
mm,
And actually, sometimes I don't actually have to understand it, I just have to meet it. I don't have to understand why my heartbeat is pounding. I just know if I hold this particular ball, or if I hold this favorite rock of mine, and I really let my body just really feel that, or it might be your pet or whatever, the body first, then I know my heartbeat
yeah.
will slow down. What often happens is that with trauma, our nervous system becomes way less flexible, right? We have no choice, and so the energy inside of us has to it gets holds on because it doesn't have choice. Often we haven't had choice to run away, get away, or get safe. So that's how it's held in the body, and so sometimes there's a misattunement because that amygdala is going wee 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 constantly for cueing for threat constantly. Um, that partly is just like starting to bring myself into safety just enough. Um, it, you know, because most people will be like, but I'm not safe, and that's true. Actually, we can't. What's the word? We can't say that we're totally safe, but we're safe enough to be able to meet ourselves. Now, when I sometimes what might happen is that confusion happens between my mind and my body, and I walk up a hill. I'm walking up a hill with a friend that's really lovely, but and my heart starts to beat fast, and my mind thinks, heck, she's going to have a panic attack. And so I start to build the anxiety, and all of a sudden I start to feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. But actually, it's just my heart beating fast because I'm unfit, right? So when I start to understand that, I can meet my body where it's at. And people here will have that experience of knowing these ways in which I can down regulate my body.
Mm,
So that whether it's pushing, having my hands on a tree, feeling my feet on the ground, pausing a little bit, talking, you know, self-soothing,
mm,
have it saying soothing things to myself. I'm not in an emergency. It's okay. My heart's beating fast because I'm just a little bit tired and a little bit unfit. Those ways in which we can talk and soothe, we can soothe our body by even just talking to ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
really good to understand. For me, one of the things that I wonder, and as a
Mm,
parent of
mm,
children, so my oldest doesn't speak and he will make loud noises when he's,
mm,
upset or even happy, right? Now, his noises can actually trigger us into a
yeah.
real sort of, sort of shock because it's so loud, it's high pitched, and it's been quite hard, but over the years, I've managed to quickly shift
Mm,
and, get myself down because my first instinct reaction is
right.
to, like, get angry, get upset, or shush him up.
Of course.
And I've learned that. But my question is, I've had lots of practice and I've done it again and again. And
Hmm.
I've tried to learn and teach myself, be compassionate, understand, where it's coming from, all of that. And I'm his mother. What happens when, you're faced in a different situation, you haven't had the practice of, constantly shifting and in sort of coping with those triggers, so to
Mm.
speak. Are there things that you could be doing in the moment so that you're not triggered? Are there things that you could be doing without the long-standing practice that
Yeah.
can help you to shift
Hmm.
your sort of nervous system state and become more regulated, or not, or you have to have the practice in place? How does
Yeah.
that?
We're all managing triggers at all times, right? And they might be small triggers and they might be large triggers. Um, and it's really even just what I was saying about that slowing down and being able to grab. So for often, kind of being able to press my hands on something solid, and to be able to. I know for me that there's actually a quite common this feeling of like when we feel triggered, we go into this kind of this bracing, right? This bracing, which for a lot of people with a trauma response, that is that those guardians come up into that protection mode, right? And so for me, even to be able to do that with shoulders,
Shoulders.
right?
Yes.
So even if we just draw the shoulders up, we feel so
Yes.
this, right? And then for me, this was a massive one, is just to kind of feel I'm safe. I know that I'm safe. Oh, that's my son yelling,
Yeah.
right? So learning about how your body responds. I can have a really tight jaw, and my children, who are 22 and 20,
Yeah.
know can really determine that little shift in the holding of my jaw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our children
Yeah.
are our wonderful teachers at knowing, oh, there's stress building, right?
Yeah.
And for me too now, I kind of like continue to release my jaw, knowing that that is a cue for my body that I'm safe, right? So the
Yeah.
trigger are actually throwing us back into a feeling of being unsafe. And so, what are the things that will help me feel safe? Placing my hands on my lap. People can do the tapping or the butterfly
Yes.
hug. We can.
Yeah.
I personally really like the lotion. That feeling of like putting lotion on my arms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. These things I've been able to. What are we doing? It's not this and going, oh yeah, I'm doing this. No, it's not working.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still in my head.
Yes. You
And
have to
of course we do that because we're feeling triggered, right? But
admit.
the practice is even here now, somebody might choose this, somebody might
Yeah.
choose, do you prefer squeezing your arms? Do you prefer that pressure?
Yeah.
Or do you prefer a soft touch? So
Yeah.
it's never prescriptive because
Yes.
everyone has a slightly different, but it's really figuring out for me, oh, that is a great cue because when I
Mhm.
do, I feel myself coming down. I feel my breath, being able to breathe a little bit easier. I can feel my chest softening
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah. And so
Um,
that's why I talk about building this relationship with ourselves.
yes.
Yeah.
Um, the reason why I was laughing is because I tried tapping. This was a while ago, and I thought, well, maybe tapping is gonna fix it
Yeah. That's
work.
right.
I was like tap, 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 and you know, not fully connected, like you said, and it didn't work, of course. And I was like, oh, it's useless. It doesn't work for me. But then I I actually did it with more of that relaxed intent and connection within the alignment that you talk about, the head body alignment. And I actually found it soothing.
Yeah.
But I
We don't,
didn't
it might,
earlier when I was like going, let's try the
yeah.
tapping, tapping, tapping. And I'm like, it's not working. It's not working.
Yeah, that's right.
Why is it
And
not
that's
working for
part of
me?
the journey, right? We all do that. I remember my daughter
Yeah.
we were doing some breathing. She's like, no, no, it's not working. It's like, oh, just slow down. It's okay. Right? Body first. relax
Yeah.
the body. Can I feel myself just like sink into the chair that I'm in, first of all?
Yeah.
All right. So that's all part of it. And of course, sometimes, a big part of it is finding support. If you can find at any time, a companion will always be supportive because you have that co-regulation piece that you can actually be in regulation with somebody else. Makes all the difference. And I don't know whether anyone else here has tried to heal or do all this stuff all by themselves. I certainly have. For a long time I did. Yeah. And really the key was to start to feel, to do this, to teach my body that I'm safe enough to trust.
Yeah.
Maybe I can feel trusting of others, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's really, really sort of noticeable now to me, which it hasn't been for a long time.
Mm.
But the more I'm getting connected, I'm actually realizing that I don't breathe well.
No.
I often have a tightness in my chest, and when I'm doing the deep breath, I'm like, oh, this feels different. I
Mhm.
needed to do it, and I didn't realize how long I was holding it for. I think even my shoulders, the posture and shoulders, I often feel like, they'll get tense when there's
Yeah.
more stress, and then that makes me realize that actually I need to do something to
Yeah.
de-stress.
And
It's
again,
holding up, so to speak.
yeah. And again,
Um,
we start with the body. It's not
yeah.
like, oh, I've learned this butt breathing techniques and I'm going to do it to myself. And now I'm going to breathe in 5 and I'm going to breathe out, all of that stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, even just some simple movement here,
Yeah.
if we lift the chest
Yes.
and we draw back into the back of the body, right? This just finding some space in the rib cage, right? Because often
Yes.
by the rib cage starts to feel tighter and tighter, and then of course we can't breathe very much, right? So it's just
Yes.
like, oh, just noticing this and not doing any movement that feels uncomfortable, just like
Yeah.
following what feels good
Yeah.
and allowing that, oh, now I feel those muscles, those intercostal muscles between your ribs are just like, oh, phew, and
Yeah.
just actually, right? And then my breath just starts to, oh, now I can feel my breath a little more, right? But if I'm moving from here thinking that I've got a technique
Yeah.
and I really just have to work and gosh, I don't breathe very well and right,
Yeah.
rather than, oh, I can just maybe find a little bit of space and let the breath emerge. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. That is so helpful. And I think when we talk about somatic approaches, we often talk about things we do, but you've actually given me a real different perspective today about, those little, I guess,
Mm.
micro movements,
Mhm.
stretches, and, again, the awareness of ourselves in those little moments, that is so important.
Yeah. And I know that you had on your list of questions,
Yes.
um, it's okay.
We haven't even gone through all
With
of them.
children, when we're working with children or with our
Yes.
clients or working, I often will do an arrival practice or because we need the arrival practice too, right?
Yes.
Going back to that
Yes.
understanding that I am the intervention, right? I
Yeah.
am not doing something to the people that I'm with. Actually, how I show up. I need an arrival practice because let's say I was just late and that's all the things that
Yes.
I need to. So one of the things is really easy to remember are 5 Ps.
Okay.
Place, place.
Okay.
Think about place. So I know that a lot of people have sensory needs around place, checking in, around
Yeah.
lighting, but also place in terms of orienting, letting yourself and people here can just look around. And again, it's that looking around. It's not like, okay, I'm looking around. What now? It's more just really bringing to mind what's in your space.
Okay.
What any light that pops forward, anything that you can anchor your eyes on that feels soothing. So a place, so letting the body anchor in a place. right? That's something that you can do with tamariki.
Yeah.
Just making sure that you've got the things on your table, anything else that you might need, just that giving people space to feel themselves. Okay, we're here. We're in this place. Second one is pace.
Okay.
So this ability to slow down, this ability to, when we do it's not like, okay, we're doing, it's like slow it right down, because then I can actually feel myself here. This pacing of things. We want to be able to meet our tamariki. We want to be present with them. We cannot be present with them if we are shoving them through, right? Like our system just cannot, in their systems, their poor little systems can't actually just feel that creates this bracing, right? That pace of things. So
Yeah.
we pace things. And then we make sure that we have pauses. And of course, for a lot of people, that takes a little bit of development, building capacity for a pause. Because for a lot of people, it can feel unbearable to pause. And there'll be people here that just live their life, and that's how they manage, is just keep going, right?
Yes.
And so this building this capacity to pause, and we can do that with each other. We can practice it together, even if we just pause for just that much and we start again. But so that's what we're doing. We're building capacity, right? You don't have to have the big pause straight away if your system can't bear it. We just build, and we can use those props to help us pause, right? Those sensory balls. I have lots of sensory balls, for instance.
Yes.
And why we have that is that I can pause, I can be here, pausing here, and this part of me can be moving, right? And that's how we tether between, I got to keep moving here, and okay, I'm going to slow down here and feel my feet on the floor, right? So with our tamariki, if we can have props to help them, there's all sorts of little things that they can just keep that moving while also developing this capacity to slow down, take a pause, maybe look at what color, what red things can you see on your desk or around in your environment, just as a little, take a break, right? Maybe have this lovely opportunity to feel that movement inside of them. And if they can, this is as you build this capacity, can you let your breath, like this out breath, just last a little longer than that in breath? And for them to know that out breath is the one that's, it's okay. We're here, we're together, we're all good. That lovely social connection piece, right? But of course, our in breath is great, but that's that activating piece, right?
Yeah.
So place, pace, pause, partnership. How do I partner with you here? We always see, like, that will always support us to be embodied if we can feel partnered with somebody, right? If I'm alone, we're not wired to be alone. Yeah. And of course, trauma or overwhelming stress means that our body feels that we are alone.
Yeah.
We feel like we are alone. Everything's telling me that I'm alone and no one can meet us. No one can meet me right now, right? And so how do I just say to you, and I can see you've forgotten something or you're really stressed about this, I'm right here and it's okay. Yeah, that partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pace, pause, partnership, and which means that we have presence. Yeah.
Okay. I really love the bit about the pauses, because I think the pauses also give us an opportunity when we're working with our tamariki to actually observe and notice what's working for them,
That's right.
what's
That's right.
going well. And I think as kayako educators and even as parents,
Yeah.
We are so often trying to support them and do the right thing or offer the right strategy,
Yeah.
prop, toy, distraction, and we're just constantly trying. And what I've found in my personal experience is just pausing and noticing what
Yeah.
they're going with, what they're enjoying, what they're really, sort of lighting up with.
Yeah. That's right.
Um,
That's called,
Actually, it helps us to then,
that's been attuned, right? That's a
yeah, it makes a big,
co-regulation
big
and
difference,
attuning
eh?
to the other. And if I'm pausing and that person over there is like, then we want to move. We want to move. We can pause and move. So all of this, like this, this is all bilateral stimulation, right? So we can pause by rocking, we can pause by getting up and moving around a little bit and coming back down, right? But again, there's a pace to it all. So I can actually be checking in with everyone. Oh, that person's really looking like it, right? Just so I can feel like a capacity to be able to hold. And of course, there'll be lots of people that are really good at being able to hold a lot of things going on at once, but being able to kind of like attune to myself. Whoo, I'm feeling up. How do I bring myself down?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's actually like, oh, my child's really down. I'm feeling really down too. And
Yeah.
how to bring myself up,
Yeah.
right? Be able to, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing, with our kids who will connect in different ways, partnership, I think, looks very different.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
We really have to, as adults, I guess, be willing to see and appreciate and acknowledge that different way of partnering.
Yeah,
For some of our kids, it's not necessarily, the typical way of partnering or, engaging in a conversation or exchanging, or sharing things. It's more about, I'm gonna do my thing next to you,
that's right.
or I'm gonna touch you slightly, nudge you with my elbow, and we're gonna sort of share that space.
Yeah.
Or I'm
Well,
gonna glance over at you,
it's
but you
fun.
don't come
It's
close
fun.
to me, don't join me,
Yeah, that's the one. That's a
isn't
tune.
it? So partnership,
So partnership is partnering with their system, not partnering, like not these ideas of how we.
there.
It's like
Yes,
being able to.
yes,
You're looking at me like that. I can see you don't want me to come anywhere near you, so I'm right here. I'm right,
yeah,
and I just give you a little look, but I'm,
yeah, yeah.
attunement, right?
It's amazing, isn't it?
And we can only do
Yeah,
when we're at a certain pace of things. I can only attune
yeah,
to the groups, the people in the groups that I have when I'm slowing down inside of myself,
yeah.
right, and pacing things, and not feeling this pressure. Like what we always say is that firstly, we need to feel in choice.
Mm,
We need to take off all the pressure and the expectation, right? Even if, of course, we need boundaries,
yeah.
right? These are our group agreements. This is the container that we're working within. But the
Mm,
minute we can take off that feeling of like pressure and all of that, then I can actually feel, oh, I'm actually accepted just as I am here,
yeah,
just as I am.
yeah,
And isn't that the hope for me? Isn't that the hope for our communities? That we
absolutely.
can hold people with attuned care,
Yeah,
and I can just be as I am,
yeah.
right? And and we can be together, right? That's really this holding diverse needs,
Mm.
um, can only happen in that space. Yeah.
And I think it's also that reminder when you have, I guess, in groups, in teams, for the leadership to understand that they've got to create the space, create the opportunity to set aside some of those expectations and offer more of that, space for connection, space for presence, space for attunement.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, we can look at leadership, we can look at global leadership, right? We can look at the fact that whatever's happening inside is happening outside, right? For everyone. So this whole and individual healing cannot be separate from collective healing, right? This, right? This, if we take the settled bodies,
yeah,
right? And so often we're just playing out, like even in people in leadership roles are just playing out their own, bracing their own stuff. And how do we all come into relationship together? This kind of piece around relationship of like, really, what does it actually mean to really prioritize relationship? And how do we do this together? And it's going to take a bit of time to explore and to be curious about that. Yeah.
absolutely. Gosh, that's been amazing. I haven't even gone through all my questions. Um, but this has been so, so good, Jacinda, in terms of some of those practical things that we can be doing, that we can be noticing more than doing. I think it's the noticing, isn't it? Because I think we naturally do things, but we don't actually notice. We'll do the little stretch, we'll do the little wiggle or the, rubbing our arms, but I think we do it quite unconsciously. And when we start becoming aware, we can start practicing it more consciously when we need it, isn't it? Like in the
Mm-hmm.
moment when you're triggered or things like that. So yeah, so I think moving from that unconscious to the conscious is
Yeah.
so important. So
And
that,
that's that
yeah,
building that awareness of how I am in my body, how I am.
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong.
yes,
There's
yes,
nothing wrong with your body. There's nothing wrong with your
yeah,
responses to the world.
yeah,
Simply a reflection. And that's how do I meet myself exactly where I am.
yeah,
So I guess that's that really like um, this hope that people kind of like are able to untangle it's this reductive thinking about ourselves, and I have to do this to it, this. And I'm not a project. My life is not a
yeah,
project. I'm not a project to be fixed. My children are not a project to be fixed.
yes,
Actually, there's something beautiful that happens when we can actually, we all have
be,
those moments, right?
just be,
We can,
yeah,
we can meet and be together.
yeah.
Yeah, and I meet myself. Yeah,
Yeah. No, you've put it really, really beautifully. I was gonna say something and I lost it. Um, but in terms of, I guess, learning from our children, I do think there's so much that we learn. I've learned a lot from them. And I think, in all honesty, all the external learning has just given me some of the words and terms and concepts to understand what I've naturally learned from the kids and what I've
hmm
naturally sort of done often over the years. And then you learn something and you go, oh, that's what it's called. That's what, like I learned today a new term, micro-corrective behaviors.
yeah, that's right.
So I think trusting ourselves as we connect within us and learning from ourselves is also really important. Ourselves, our kids, so important other than just the
Yeah,
um
and maybe we're exactly where we need to be in
yeah,
our in life, right? This kind of this constant pushing forward, this feeling of pressure, like maybe I'm right here and I am enough just as I am. And then we have this calling, what I talk about as this kind of like we get to a place, these ways of being have got us to where we are, truly. They've allowed us to survive. That's why they're called survival processes. And we come to a place in our life where it's like, they no longer make me feel safe anymore. They feel like a
yeah,
prison, right? And so I want to be able to, something new needs to emerge.
yes,
That draws me towards new behaviors.
yeah,
And how do I allow myself to be in this process of ever emerging, learning and growing, right?
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I always think about it as moving from surviving to thriving.
Mm.
How do I get out of the survival and begin to thrive? Um, and the other thing that's helped me really with that self-acceptance of where you're at, or just being kind to yourself, is the whole concept of seasons and
Mm.
understanding that you go through seasons in life, and it's okay to have a season where you're resting and where you're you know, slower, and where you're, sort of just taking care of yourself and healing. You don't have to always be productive. I think that whole thing about productiveness and multitasking, I remember how proud I was about multitasking.
Yeah,
And now I realize, oh my gosh, what was I doing? But again, that's part of learning journey, and
that's right.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it helped me then. It's a new chapter now. So thank you so much for coming along today and sharing so much with us. Really, really loved how simple little things, micro corrective behaviors can help us.
yeah.
Make
1%.
changes.
They're
Yes.
1% shifts. They're not big, massive, or else our body doesn't, that feels too much.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
little. We
Yeah.
build safety like that.
Yeah.
So give yourself a break. Just,
Yeah.
it's okay, that 1%, a little bit. And then over time, that grows.
Amazing.
So thank you so
Amazing.
much to you and everyone that's here this evening. I really hope that, you take something from this and, for you and your whānau and the tamariki you might be working with. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jacinda. I'll close us with a karakia. And thank you so much for sharing with us. Karakia whakamutunga, kia whakairia te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia turuki whakataha ai, kia turuki whakataha ai. Haumie huie taikia.
Uh,
Kia
kia
ora,
ora.
everyone. Thank you for coming along, and we will put the recording up on our website. Po Marie. I'll just pause the recording.